starting to get more and more aware of identity management. And, you know, can you have multiple identities? Or is there going to be some way people can find them? So for example, there's a startup called PIPL.com, which is out there, which, you know, has something they call deep web searching. And when they do deep web searching, they are finding every single freaking thing about you, possible things you didn't know were online. I mean, I'm finding things. I went and I searched on me. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that existed, much less it was online. And so, you know, so there's this set of connections happening, which I think when you try to map that against identity, it's going to get a lot more complex. And I think most people have always managed their identities in separate silos, right? Like, this is me in the real world. This is me on Facebook. This is me, you know, at work. You know, this is me, you know, on Twitter, you know, with a little bit of overlap. And folks have had some belief, which I think is a little incorrect, that they could keep those things separate. There's always this problem of processing power of the human brain and how many details can I keep straight. And so when, you know, people talk about managing different identities online, there's the technical piece which says, okay, just very technically, these are my different personas, and I'm going to go set them up where I've got, you know, 4 different logins, and each one of those is, you know, sort of what I consider my 4 core personas, right? And then I think there's just the, you know, mind space. You know, how do you keep these things straight in your own head of, you know, what you share with who and how do I behave in these different situations? And those are going to bleed together. You know, I've heard it described as though each of your personas is basically a tag, right? And so you're just hashtagging everything about yourself, you know, and each one of those personas is going to get a different set of them. And there's going to be some overlap. But, you know, as we all know, at some point, all the tags come home to roost. It's a very small town mentality too, right? If you were to go back, you know, 50 years and you look at small town life and small town work, they did know everything about you personally. I mean, and this is, you know, not including like you would have kept, if you were gay, you would have kept that in the closet. So no one would know, as versus some people knew and some people didn't. So, you know, put that kind of thing aside. But, you know, in a small town, pretty much everyone knew what was going on. You know, they knew if you're having a fight with your spouse. They knew if your kid was the kid that threw eggs. You know, there was no hiding your personal from your employer. And so I do think that maybe that's a little cyclical. And so by going online and that transparency that comes from going online, you're getting some of the transparency that you had in a small town culture, or they still have in small town cultures. Only we're having it everywhere. If you are, you know, Procter & Gamble, if you are Timbuktu, if you're Zappos, you like to work with Get Satisfaction because it means that, you know, your customer can go seamlessly through from side to side without having to, you know, reset up a new account, right? So I think it makes it a lot easier for customer experience if you can seamlessly go through different sites without having to say who you are again and again and again. And that gets back to all that data coming back to live in one place. Right. So again, I think identity just touches everything as people start to use APIs more, as people start to sort of do the pass-through of account verification more, because, you know, folks have finally realized in the web services space that it's not about being the destination as much as it is about servicing the customer. So a company like Get Satisfaction can go out and service customers on, you know, 100 different consumer product websites, never having that customer set up an account at Get Satisfaction, yet still have a bunch of linked information just based on the behaviors. We're starting to see more opportunities come along that are capital efficient, where you can do something that doesn't require the permission from, you know, Mr. Sprint or, you know, Mrs. AT&T to get started. You know, you can actually just go and build something, you know, do some end run, you know, do payments that work, whether or not the carriers have approved you, do mobile advertising from, you know, Main Street through Bluetooth instead of having to go through the carrier network. Folks are able to go and use some established piece of the communications infrastructure, whether that is, you know, SMS or, you know, photos on a phone, whether that's the cloud, you know, for online services, and use some established piece of infrastructure to provide a service that rides along the top. And that might be anything from, you know, setting a barcode so that you know exactly, you know, how many calories are in the pretzels you're eating, to being able to pair your credit card to your phone using an SMS. And this is just crazy stuff that no one was doing even a year or two ago.